Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about a key update on F1 start, as well as an incident involving George Russell at the start of the Australian Grand Prix. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram and X at James's Pit Lane. I'll leave links in the description. But let's jump straight into the video. So let's start with George Russell. Now Russell lines up on pole in his Mercedes for the Australian Grand Prix, and there was an incident at the start of the Grand Prix involving Russell. Basically, footage has emerged on social media that shows Russell appearing to edge forward in his grid box as the start phase is getting underway. Basically, when the light sequence began to signal the start of the race, Russell on pole position rolls slightly forward. However, when the signal to start appears, the 5 red lights that go out simultaneously, Russell is once again completely stationary and begins the race from a standstill. Now, this led to questions as to, was this a false start from Russell? Well, there are two things to consider in the sporting regulations. Basically, in Section A of Article B5.11.1, it states that during any standing start or standing start resumption, all cars must be stationary in their allocated grid position for the period after the red light is illuminated and before the start signal is given by extinguishing all red lights. And well, Russell's brief roll forward before the start does not count as an early or false start under Section A, because from the moment the third red light illuminates, the Mercedes is once again completely stationary. Now Section C states that cars must be positioned in their allocated grid position such that no part of the contact patch of their front tyres are outside of the lines, front and sides, at the time of the start signal. And well, there is also no indication in the footage that his front tyres extended beyond the lines of his starting box as described in Section C. The front wing extending beyond the grid box is not relevant under the guidelines. So even though Russell's start was questioned, it looks like his start was fine at the end of the day, which is why Russell did not receive a penalty. Now, on the subject of F1 starts, these have been very anticipated. Basically, with the removal of the MGUH, it takes longer for the drivers to spin up the turbo, and as a result, starts are a lot harder, and we've seen drivers struggling with their practice starts before the Australian Grand Prix. And in one incident at the start of the Grand Prix, Racing Bulls driver Lawson, who qualified in 8th, was incredibly slow off the line, putting him in danger of being hit from behind by a faster moving car, and Alpine's Franco Colapinto had lightning reactions to somehow avoid going into the back of the slow moving Lawson in what could have been a seriously big collision. Now Lawson's car seemed to lose power for around 5 seconds, by which point he'd already tumbled to the back of the grid. And speaking about it, Lawson said, as quoted by Racing News 365, "It was just, I had no power, so I launched and just lost all power. I was sitting there and couldn't get it back. And then a couple of seconds later I got it back and then got wheel spin, but I don't know what happened. I haven't had that in testing." Now, as I say, this looks to be a power issue, but an issue that multiple drivers seem to experience at the Melbourne Grand Prix start was having a lack of battery following the formation lap. And the lack of energy also produced another surprising issue. Basically, motorsport.com say that for some drivers, such as Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes, without the electrical boost, it was not possible to complete the necessary burnout on the grid. Without being able to complete the usual burnout sequence to warm the rear tyres, the wheels spun at the start, resulting in a sluggish launch. And we saw Kimi Antonelli drop multiple positions at the start of the Grand Prix, and Russell lost P1 to Charles Leclerc. And speaking about their starts, Mercedes' Andrew Shovlin said, as quoted by motorsport.com, "The start was difficult. We didn't do a good enough job of managing the limited energy around the formation lap, and both drivers ended up with low battery on the line. The drivers did a great job to stay out of trouble, but dropped a lot of places, and we had to go into recovery mode." And while that leads to a first lap that you just don't want, I mean, motorsport.com say that some drivers were forced to use the opening lap more to recharge the battery than to attack, for example by using more pronounced lift and coast techniques. This generated power and speed differences across the lap that further shook up the order. And motorsport.com went on to say, to try and warm the tyres and brakes, drivers generally adopt quite aggressive driving style during the formation lap, alternating constant cycles of acceleration and braking. The battery therefore comes under heavy stress because the car repeatedly transitions from low to high speeds, and energy consumption acceleration increases significantly during the acceleration phases on tracks like Melbourne, which offers a few real opportunities for recharging. This continuous cycle does not help. Also, because the last real chance to recover energy is the braking zone at turn 11 following 2 long straights. By proceeding more slowly in the final sector, it becomes much more difficult to recharge the battery because the recovery action of the MG UK is reduced. Now, as we know with the new power units this year, the battery depletes a lot faster, but in my opinion, it's quite shocking to see drivers following the formation app turning up to their grid slots with little to no battery. I mean, they're going so slowly anyway, and still the battery depletes so fast. So hopefully this is something that can be resolved. But that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and until the next one, take care.